For the most part, having 2 types in Pokemon is better than 1 because you gain a boost from stab on more moves, making your offense stronger and more versatile. A good example of this is Ghost and Fighting, as Fighting hits Dark and Normal for super effective, while Ghost hits Psychic and Ghost for super effective. It can also make your defense better since one type's weakness can be made neutral from the other type's resistance, or even better, being made immune entirely. A good example of this is Flying Steel, as Steel's ground and fighting weaknesses are turned into immune and neutral from Flying, and Flying's rock and ice weaknesses are turned into neutral from Steel, resulting in a dual typing that has fewer weaknesses than each type has individually. However, there are some dual typings that work so poorly together that the Pokemon of these typings would probably rather not be dual type at all. In these cases, the slight bit of extra offense from an additional stab type is not worth the cost of the additional weaknesses from the other type. So in this video, let's look at dual type Pokemon that would be better off Monotype. None of these are supposed to make sense thematically, by the way. This is just a fun thought experiment as to how it would benefit them competitively. I'm also going to assume that a Pokemon keeps all of its existing moves but just loses stab on the type that it loses, which again doesn't make sense thematically, but if I didn't do this, I would essentially have no video at all, so bear with me here. First, we have Bastiodon being better off as a Mono Steel type. Steel is the best defensive type in the game, and it's not even a little bit close. When you combine it with Rock though, one of the worst defensive types in the game, you get a typing with 2 4x weaknesses to ground and fighting. Having multiple 4x weaknesses is bad, but it's not the end of the world if the Pokemon's stats allow it to be more offensive. Unfortunately, this is not the case for Bastiodon, whose whole thing is being defensive, with an attack stat lower than Venonat and a special attack stat lower than Budew. As many resistances as Steel Rock has, and as high as Bastiodon's defense and special defense are, it means nothing when it will fall apart to an Earthquake or close combat every time. Since its attacking stats are so bad, it gets Iron Defense Body Press, and since most physical rock moves suck anyway, it wouldn't really care about losing its Rock Stab. It also likes to use Stealth Rock for Hazard Setting, which is a status move unaffected by Stab. All of this could also be said about the other Steel Rock type Pokemon in the game, by the way, but I felt that Bastiodon was probably the worst victim since it has the worst attacking stats, so it's the Mon most forced into being defensive. Aggron even loses its rock typing to become pure steel when it Mega Evolves, which gave it some decent use in Gen 6 and 7, showing just how bad Steel Rock is. Next, we have Tapu Bulu being better off as a Mono Grass type. Tapu Bulu is one of the 4 guardian deities that are all part fairy type, but Tapu Bulu in particular really got the short end of the fairy stick. It is a grass fairy type, the only dual typing of the 4 that has a 4x weakness, and it learns a whopping 2 fairy moves total, Nature's Madness and Dazzling Gleam. As a physical attacker though, Dazzling Gleam is pretty useless on Tapu Bulu since it's a special move. Nature's Madness is also a special move, but it's a Super Fang clone, so it doesn't have base power and is therefore not affected by stab. So the only thing that the fairy type is doing for Tapu Bulu is giving it a dragon immunity and a dark and fighting resistance in exchange for a steel weakness and a 4x poison weakness. As good as the fairy type usually is, it is doing little to nothing for Tapu Bulu, making it, in my opinion, better as just a mono grass type. If this isn't convincing enough, look at Rillaboom, a mono grass type with similar stats and the same ability that is much better than Tapu Bulu. Yeah, Rillaboom learns better moves overall, mainly Grassy Glide, but Rillaboom doesn't have the issue of not having stab on its other type since it doesn't have another type at all. This lets it lean much more into just using grass moves or using the grass type power boosting item, the Miracle Seed. Next, we have Calyrex-Ice being better off as a mono ice type. Calyrex-Ice is the result of the fusion between Glastrier and Calyrex, with Calyrex's psychic typing rubbing off on Glastrier during the fusion. Like the fairy type with Tapu Bulu, the psychic type is another type that is much better on the special side than on the physical side. The only physical attacking psychic move that Calyrex gets is Zen Headbutt, which is okay, but just not worth it when you have Glacial Lance. I guess Zen Headbutt allows Calyrex-Ice to hit water, ice, and fire for neutral damage, types that resist ice, But Calyrex-Ice also gets close combat and high horsepower, moves that can hit those types and the steel type for neutral and or super effective damage. Assuming same base power and no other modifiers, a non-stab super effective move will do more damage than a stab neutral move, making high horsepower and close combat way more valuable to Calyrex-Ice than Zen Headbutt. Defensively, all that the Psychic type does to Calyrex-Ice is give it a Bug, Ghost, and Dark weakness in exchange for not having a fighting weakness and having a Psychic resistance, which is not a great trade. Really, as long as Calyrex-Ice can still use Glacial Lance and Trick Room, a Psychic type status move that is not affected by Stab, it has all the tools it needs to be able to sweep a team. Next, we have Rotom-Fan being better off as a mono electric type. It's been a meme since day one that Rotom-Fan has a useless ability with Levitate, an ability that makes the user non-grounded since its flying typing already makes it non-grounded. Might as well give it an air balloon as well to really make sure that it can't be hit by ground moves. If it was mono electric type though, that would mean that its ability would actually be useful. Its mono electric typing that only has one weakness to ground now has no weaknesses, and it wouldn't have the other weaknesses from the flying type. In doing so, it loses stab on the one flying move it gets, Air Slash, but having no weaknesses would allow it to be able to fill a much better supporting role on a team. It has access to moves like Will-O-Wisp, Eerie Impulse, Thunder Wave, Helping Hand, Trick, Rain Dance, Double Team, and both screens. It maintains the electric typing with access to great special electric options with Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Discharge, Thunder, and Electro Web. Unfortunately, its flying typing makes its ability useless by giving it 2 extra weaknesses, making it outclassed by Rotom Wash and Rotom Heat. Next, we have Gyarados being better off as a mono water type. Flying has pretty much always just been a decoration to Gyarados, rather than an actual second typing that it gains when evolving from Magikarp. Flying doesn't have great attacking options unless you're specifically a physical bird, which Gyarados is not. In Gen 9, it learns no physical attacking flying moves at all, with it previously learning Bounce, but now only getting Hurricane, a special move. It has to use Terra Flying Terra Blast to get physical flying stab, so the flying typing is doing next to nothing for Gyarados offensively. Defensively, it gives Gyarados a 4x electric weakness, which is bad mainly because of the existence of Volt Switch, a common pivoting move. And really any relatively strong special attacker has no issue in one-shotting it with Thunderbolt. Otherwise, the flying typing synergizes decently well with water neutralizing flying's ice weakness and flying neutralizing water's grass weakness. It also trades a spike's immunity for a stealth rock weakness, which is arguable as to which one is worse. If Gyarados could really choose its typing, it would probably want to be Water Dragon, as it learns dragon moves like Dragon Tail, Outrage, and Scale Shot, but either way, the flying typing isn't great on Gyarados. Next, we have Articuno being better off as a mono ice type. Articuno has had a lot of trouble in the competitive scene, mostly due to how poorly its stats and typing work together. I've talked about it like a million times on this channel before, which is that ice types built to be defensive tanks are just set up for failure. For Articuno, its dual typing is especially bad since it has a 4x rock weakness, which makes it lose half HP from Stealth Rock. While ice is definitely the worst defensive type between ice and flying, Articuno would rather lose the flying typing because ice is just so good offensively, and it has great ice type attacking moves like Freeze Dry, Blizzard, and Ice Beam. This is opposed to its mid flying options of Air Slash and Hurricane. It also has the ability Snow Cloak, which activates in snow, and since snow boosts the defense of ice types and causes Blizzard to have perfect accuracy, I actually think Articuno would benefit more from being mono ice rather than a mono flying type. Next, we have Carbink being better off as a mono fairy type. This is pretty much for the exact same reason as Bastiodon, which is that Carbink is completely built to be defensive, and the rock type is a terrible defensive typing, especially when paired with other types. The majority of rock dual typings have at least one 4x weakness, and rock fairy's 4x weakness is to steel. Rock also makes this dual typing have 4 total weaknesses as opposed to mono fairy type's 2 weaknesses, and with Carbink having terrible offensive stats, it would not care in the slightest if it lost its rock stab. Also like Bastiodon, it gets Stealth Rock and Iron Defense Body Press, all moves that are not affected by it not having rock stab. Other attacking moves it could use are Gyro Ball, Moonblast, Misty Explosion, and Sand Tomb, all way better options than its Rock Stab. Really, the only thing of value that Carbink is giving up is the 2 interactions with Sandstorm, being immune to the chip damage and having a special defense boost. Bastiodon would still be immune to the chip damage as a Steel type, while Carbink would not. Lastly, we have Jumpluff being better off as a Monotype. Either Mono Grass or Mono Flying would be better than Grass Flying. When making this video, I was actually quite surprised as to how many of these entries involve a Pokemon benefiting from losing the Flying typing, and it mainly comes down to the fact that Flying just doesn't offer much offensively unless you're specifically a physical bird, as I stated with Gyarados. There are some exceptions to this, of course, like Pelipper being fine as a special attacking Flying type, but it sets Rain to make Hurricane perfectly accurate, something that is pretty unique to just Pelipper. Grass's attacking moves are fine, but it just has a lot of weaknesses defensively, and with Jumpluff's awful attacking stats but great supporting move pool, it doesn't really need any good attacking moves. It gets Rage Powder, Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, Strength Sap, Encore, Cotton Guard, Tailwind, Pollen Puff, both Screens, and Leech Seed. Defensively, the Flying typing just gives Jumpluff a 4 times Ice weakness while giving it a Ground immunity, a type that Grass already resists. The Grass typing at least neutralizes Flying's electric weakness, but other than that, these 2 types don't complement each other super well. I was definitely going back and forth between which mono-typing Jumpluff would rather have, so let me know which one you think would be better, or if you disagree that Jumpluff would be better off as a monotype entirely. And those are dual-type Pokemon that, in my opinion, would be better off if they were just monotype. Please let me know where you disagree, or if you have any suggestions for other Pokemon that should be monotype that I missed. After I had already written the entire script for this video, I found out that Emperor Cubone had already made this exact video like 2 years ago, but we only had one Pokemon in common between our lists, so I felt that my video was different enough to be worth posting. Definitely go check out his though, and I'll leave the link in the description. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, just leave a nice comment, since I do read all comments. You can also become a member for 99 cents USD to get a badge next to your name and early video access like all of these lovely people. If you want bonus content, check out my second channel, Extra Bell, where I post videos I've scrapped for this channel, as well as more casual unscripted videos. Likes are also one of the ways that YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves to be, I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching.